Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I still do not need a Switch 2. So we're a full week post the launch of the Switch 2, and this time last week, I put out a video basically stating that the Switch 2 console was still sitting on shelves. And I think some people took that as some form of hate or that I wasn't a fan of the Switch 2. But I was simply stating facts that at that point, there were still plenty of Switch 2 consoles to go around, and that it was not a scenario where if you didn't camp out all night or for 24 hours before the launch, that you weren't going to get a console. That wasn't the case. You did not need to camp out. You didn't even need to pre-order it. In fact, a lot of testimonies came back that people who didn't pre-order their Switch 2 actually wound up getting their consoles faster during the launch. And my main point with that video was that for those who want the Switch 2, you were definitely going to be able to get the Switch 2. There wasn't going to be any type of selling out of the console. And a lot of that was due to the proper planning and preparation on the part of Nintendo. So congratulations to Nintendo, because they announced that they've sold 3.5 million units of the Switch 2, which I believe has broken their record for launch sales, and I think it breaks all records for launch sales. So that's a big accomplishment for them. And I know for a lot of the people who are major Nintendo supporters, this kind of validates them in a way. I feel like this information validates those who went ahead and bought the Switch 2 at launch. They're probably feeling better about themselves. And at this point, I would say that it's probably a lot harder to find a Switch 2 at this point, at least until the restocks start to come in, which they're obviously going to start coming in. But at this point, it's safe to say that the Switch 2 has sold out in a lot of areas. It does not mean that it's completely sold out. There are still areas where you can get one, but I think in a lot of the major cities, just if you're in an area where, an area with a lot of gamers or even just a lot of families that are looking to purchase the console, you're probably going to have a hard time finding the console. Now, my thoughts and feelings on the console are still the same in that I do not feel that I need it. I don't need a Switch 2 at this point. I think it's great that it's sold out. I'm happy for Nintendo. I'm happy for everyone who got their console and happy for everyone who's feeling good about their purchase at this point. But from what I'm seeing, yes, people are going and they're playing some of the launch titles. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen a lot of streams, a lot of different streams where people are playing Mario Kart World. That's great too. But overwhelmingly, what I'm seeing a lot of people using the Switch 2 to play their Switch 1 backlog. And it seems that for a lot of Switch 2 users, that seems to be the biggest advantage and the biggest use case for the console. A lot of people are just taking it, going back and just playing some of their older games, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't need a Switch 2 to play Switch 1 games. I'm still firmly in that camp. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think that there will come a point where I will get a Switch 2. What I'm hoping for, because Nintendo rarely ever discounts their first party games and they rarely ever significantly discount their consoles. But every once in a while, you'll see Nintendo do like a $50 off when you bundle, or maybe they'll do $100 off. I'm sure they've got some type of holiday bundle in the works for people to, snag a Switch 2, and maybe it'll come with like a physical game of some sort. I think I'm gonna wait for that. If I can get the Switch 2 on any type of deal, I'd much rather do that. than just pay the standard MSRP right now for a console that I'm really gonna play mostly Switch 1 games on. That's how I would use it if I got it. Yes, I'm gonna play Mario Kart World, but I'm not gonna play it that much. Primarily because, as great as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was, I really only played it with friends. I wasn't just sitting at home just playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's not a game that I'm gonna play by myself. Most of the time, it's a game that I will play with the family. So I see the Switch 2 being a very good holiday console. I think it's going to be a great console to get as like a family gift. Like after I get everyone in my family their individual gifts, I may just get a Switch 2 as like a gift to the family because we'll use it for, Mario Kart World. We'll use it for all of the, Mario Party games and just any other games that come out. That will probably be how we use the console. But all in all, I don't feel like these sales numbers change my perspective on the console at all. So again, congrats to Nintendo. Congrats to everyone who has one. No, I'm not a hater of the Switch 2. And at the time that I made that video, yes, it was sitting on shelves. I mean, you could even just go through my comments. I have subscribers from all over the country. I have subscribers from all over the world. And, you would see different people. Some people would say, hey, it's sold out in my territory. Then in the comment right underneath that, it would say, hey, there's like 12 sitting on the shelf right in front of me right now. Some people would literally be standing right in front of a stack of Switch 2 consoles. So it really just depended on where you were at, which market you were in. I think that was the biggest factor. But outside of that, it's pretty much a luck of the draw. So let me know if you picked up a Switch 2 and let me know how you're using it. Are you playing Mario Kart World? Are you playing Street Fighter 6? Are you, what are you doing with it? Or are you finding yourself playing more of your Switch 1 backlog in there? Now, a lot of people are estimating that the lifetime sales of the console will wind up being somewhere around 100 million units. I don't know if that will be the case, especially with the Switch 1 still being very alive and kicking, right? The Switch 1 didn't just magically go away. And I think for parents, having to make the decision on either of the two consoles, if it really boils down to dollars and cents, they might opt for the cheaper option even in 2025 by going with the Switch 1. But we'll have to see, because it is going to get to a point where Nintendo's competing with itself between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of sales throughout the rest of the year. Also, I really hate the comparisons that people are making between like the Switch and the PlayStation 5. The one thing that Nintendo did in this launch better than anyone else is create availability. Availability of the system is what helped to drive these sales numbers. We saw an unprecedented number of units made available to the customer, something that we never had with the PlayStation 5 due to obvious reasons being the pandemic. And I think Nintendo did themselves a monumental favor by making sure that these units were available to everyone who wanted to buy them. Because believe it or not, the availability is probably what won over a lot of people who were on the fence. Because you had a lot of people who probably felt like they weren't gonna pay scalpers or stand in line or go jump through any hoops to get the console. But I think once people realized how easy it was to get one, if you were on the fence, you probably just went and said, hey, you know what, screw it, I'll go ahead and get one. And I'm sure that contributed a lot to these sales numbers. So let me know what you guys think about this. Where do you stand with the Switch 2 after this news? If you don't have one, do you want to get one even more now that you know that it's sold that much? Or are you still, I'll wait and see? Let me know your thoughts and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.